Today's a little bit of a different video. Now, I am by no means a handbag expert or anything like that. I am just a crazy handbag lover, a proud crazy handbag lover. And today I wanted to share 5 tips or 5 things that I have learned throughout the years that have really helped me to navigate these waters of handbag collecting, things that I like to keep in the back of my mind, things that really help me to keep a perspective on what I decide to add to my collection next. So as I said before, I am not an expert, but I wanted to pass these along to you. Maybe you are starting your collection. Maybe you are thinking about starting a collection, or maybe you just wanted to hear another crazy handbag lover's perspective. I don't know, but I hope that you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure and give it a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, number 1, you don't have to explain your bags or your collection to anybody out there, especially if they don't contribute to your bank account. Absolutely not. When I think of handbag collecting, I very much so view it as a hobby, and there are a myriad of hobbies out there. Some people collect handbags, some people collect thimbles, some people are all about golfing, some people are all about spending their extra money on their cars, what have you. There are so many things out there that people view as a hobby. And when it comes to handbag collecting or to having a collection of handbags, I think you're either gonna get it or you're not, plain and simple. And I know that some people will sit here and say, well, I tell people I work really hard for my money and I choose to spend it on luxury goods. I work really hard, but I don't spend money on this. I don't spend money on that. You are explaining yourself. You are still explaining yourself. Why? There is absolutely no need. Because like I said before, they're either gonna get it or they're not. And there are people out there that when they think of handbag collecting or a handbag collection, a luxury handbag collection, regardless of what you say, they are going to continue to think what they're going to think. I mean, you can explain yourself until you are blue in the face, and they are still going to hold on to that. And there is absolutely nothing that you say that is going to change their mind. So why are you going to waste your time trying to defend something that you love if they're not going to get it anyways? No. Absolutely not. And it's not my job to make you feel better about something that I enjoy. That's absolutely not going to happen. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have heard some amazing things about my collection over the years. I have heard things like, you are so stupid for spending that amount of money on a bag. Why would you do that? That's so idiotic. You're so dumb. Why don't you spend your money on something better? Why don't you spend your money on this? Why don't you spend your money on that? You name it. I have heard it all. And it makes me laugh. I find it so comical that people get so aggravated. And not only that, they're spending my money for me on something that they think is better for me. So that's always amazing. But I always respond one of 2 ways. I'll always either say, are you done? You got that off your chest? Cool. And the other thing, I'll just say, hey, if that makes you sleep better at night, keep thinking that. By all means, go for it. I never go toe-to-toe with them. I will never explain myself. That's not my style. That is not my jam. I am a grown-ass woman and I don't have to explain myself to anybody because like I said before, they're either gonna get it or they're not. And sometimes I feel like they completely stop because I think they expect me to go toe-to-toe with them. I think that they expect me to exchange insults back and forth and get so mad and get so hurt about what they're saying and ruffle my feathers and try to defend what I like. That's not going to happen because like I said before, either you get it or you don't, and I am not here to try to make you feel better about something that I enjoy. Nope. Absolutely not. So that is probably like my golden rule when it comes to handbag collecting. I don't know. Number 2, don't compare your collection to anybody else's. And I know that might seem easier said than done. I know I myself am guilty of this in the past. And instead of focusing on what that person has, like how come I don't have as many bags as that person? How come I don't have that bag? How come I don't have this? How come I don't have that? Instead of focusing on what that person has, I think it's better to focus on what it is that you do have. And I know that sounds super corny, all right? Super corny, very after school special. I know that's something that I always end up saying, but I truly feel that way because people lead different walks of life. People have different lifestyles. People have different budgets. Not only that, we truly don't know the ins and outs of how a person's collection came to be. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because as I said before, they don't need to explain how their collection came to be in the first place anyways. But we truly don't know the ins and outs of anything. So if you just end up focusing on what it is that you do have, I think that that really helps the toxicity of wanting to compare your collection to someone else's. Another thing that I wanted to add to that is collections don't happen overnight, and I can only speak for myself. Collections don't happen overnight. I know that if you were to jump on my Instagram page, or if you were to look through my YouTube page or my YouTube channel, it might seem very different, but trust me when I tell you, my collection definitely didn't happen overnight. It's the making of a few decades, and I love it because everything came to be just when it was supposed to. I didn't rush anything, and I felt like when I rushed things at the beginning, it really bit me in the ass, and that helped me to really focus and pay attention to what it is that does work for my lifestyle and does work out for my collection. You know, so it didn't happen overnight, and there are times when I have had bags for many years that didn't work out, and I sold them, and that money went towards something else, and that's how the collection that I now have came to be, you know? So again, we don't know the ins and outs. Everyone has a different lifestyle. Everyone has a different budget, and that is totally okay. But I think that it really boils down to focusing on what it is that you do have instead of focusing on what someone else has. I don't know. Again, super, super corny, but that's 100% how I feel. And that brings us to number 3. And this really ties in with another point that I'm gonna make a little bit later on. But just because it isn't trendy anymore doesn't mean it isn't a great bag. And this really speaks to social media. Now, I know that before social media, we had the it bag of the summer, the it bag of this year, the it bag of that year, right? But now on social media, it seems like a lot more bags get a lot more hype in a very short amount of time. And the sooner the hype is surrounding that bag, it seems like the sooner that bag gets dropped and people are completely done with it, and that's it, right? Now, I know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it really does make it seem like these, you know, following the trend or only wanting to go for trendy bags makes handbags, especially luxury handbags, feel more like fast fashion. And I don't know about you, but luxury bags definitely don't have that fast fashion price point. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's something that I definitely like to keep in the back of my mind. And I mean, it's kind of sad when you think of some of these bags. Case in point, the Speedy 25 bandolier. You guys know my love for that bag, right? I hated it when it first came out. Absolutely love it. I still sing that bag's praises. And then all of a sudden people were like, oh my God, you still have that bag? Ew, that bag is so done. That bag is so over. Why do you have it? Why, blah, blah, blah. In my eyes, the Speedy 25, or even the Speedy in general, it's not a trendy bag. It's a classic bag. It's an icon to that fashion house. And just because it's not on trend anymore, just because, you know, it's not the most talked about bag on the planet, doesn't mean it isn't a great bag. I mean, some people will look at you like you have a third eye if you have a bag that is no longer on trend. Like they'll sit there and like, oh my God, why? Why do you still have that bag? That bag is, oh, disgusting. That bag is so over. You need to get this bag instead of that one. It's like, what? That is the craziest thing I have ever heard, because I honestly think that everything that handbags are cyclical, or their styles are cyclical. Everything almost always comes back into fashion, because there are many bags in the early 2000s that had all the hype, then they kind of went under the radar, and then they came back into popularity in 2020, 2021, 2022. That's why I think that everything comes back almost full circle, you know? So it's not about just wanting to keep bags that are on trend and only having that, and after they fall out of trend, it's like, oh my God, it is the worst. This bag is garbage, you know? It's definitely not about that. Definitely not. Because many of these bags are iconic. They are classics to the house. They make it to be classics to the house, you know? And again, that's how I see it. Those are just my 2 cents. As I said in the beginning, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but that's honestly how these brown eyes end up seeing it. But that's just me. Now, number 4, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's controversial, because that would be the wrong way of putting it. I know a lot of people feel very strongly about this next topic, so I think it just boils down to personal preference, and that is resale value isn't everything. Now, I know know that I have been very vocal about resale value when it comes to handbags in the past, and I am very mindful. It is something that I take into consideration when it comes to certain bags, but I definitely don't think that it's everything. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that if you end up buying an $8,000 bag, should you go to sell it, you only get $1,000 and that's amazing. Absolutely not. I mean, no one really wants to lose money when it comes to reselling their bags, right? But on the flip side of resale value, I feel like that's where joy really plays a part. And what I mean by that is that I have quite a few luxury bags in my collection that don't hold their resale value very well. I also have quite a few contemporary brands that don't hold their resale value at all. But with those bags, I seem to either use them a lot more, I get a lot more joy out of them than I do my more expensive handbags. And in some cases, the cost per wear is a lot less with those horrible resale value bags than it is with the more expensive ones. And I think it, again, goes back down to joy and the joy that I get when I use some of these bags. They are in constant rotation. They have terrible resale value, but the happiness that I get from using those bags, that is absolutely amazing. And that is what I take away from owning the bag for however long I had it. Whether I had it for 5 years, whether I had it for 5 months, it doesn't matter. The joy that I am getting, the joy that I got from that bag and the memories attached to that bag, are what I take away from it, not the resale value. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that you want to lose all the money when it comes to bags. Absolutely not. But I think joy has a big part to play when it comes to handbags, at least for me, because at the end of the day, it's how handbags make me feel. They make me happy. They make me crazy. They make me that crazy bag lady that I was talking about earlier. And it's so much fun to have. It's so great to have fun with some of these bags that don't have the greatest resale value. I mean, there are bags that if you want to get your fix for a color, if you want to get your fix for a brand, if you want to get your fix for a material that you might necessarily want to spend a huge amount of money on in a really expensive luxury brand, and you can go for it in the contemporary realm, you might end up getting a lot more joy out of that bag than you might think, and that's why I said that in the past, it's something that resale value is something that I always, thought about, something that it was always in the back of my mind, but I didn't really pay attention and I didn't really give credit to joy when it came to what handbags meant to me in the first place. It's almost like I started to lose why I liked handbags so much. It wasn't about the resale value. The resale value is definitely a bonus. But it's about the joy, the way that they make my heart flutter when I use them or when I see them or whatever the case may be, that sometimes I felt like I lost sight of that because I was so fixated on the resale part. So like I said, I know a lot of people feel very strongly about this. They feel very different about that, and to each their own. But yeah, sometimes just being able to have fun with the bag and just not think about it. It's on constant rotation for one summer, but that summer you used it to death. That summer you used it, over and over and over and over again. That the joy that you felt using that bag meant more than the resale value that you would get in the future. I don't know, but that's just the way that I see it. Joy is something that I know I said joy like 1,000 times by now. It's something that I seem to forget. It's something that I took out of the equation. And I'm happy that I no longer see it that way. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, it's about the feeling that I get when I use a bag. And don't get me wrong, it is amazing when you do sell a bag and you're like, heck yeah, I got 75% of what I paid for that bag, or I got 90% of what I paid for that bag. That's always great. That's a good feeling too. I'm definitely not knocking that. But yeah, it's not everything. It's not everything. And I know a lot of people have been very vocal to me about why do I have some of the cheapy bags in my collection? Why do I have, that bag? Why don't I only have a luxury collection? That's just not my jam because I am not a handbag snob. I'm not saying that people are out there being snobs either. I just love bags. I love any in all bags, in all shapes and sizes, all brands, all materials. I feel like I can always find something positive about a bag, even if it might not be for me. That is just how much I like bags. That's really what it comes down to. I don't know, but I know that was a little long-winded, but that would be my number 4. Now for the last one, number 5. I wonder how many people have made it to number 5. If you have, leave a heart down below. But number 5 is you do you. Now I know I have said this many times throughout the years. I probably sound like a broken record, but that's totally fine. You do you. It doesn't matter what your favorite influencer says. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what Billy Bob says, what Sally Sue says. It does not matter. You do you. Follow your heart when it comes to handbags and what works for your collection, because you're going to be the one using them. You're going to be the one spending the money on the bags. Because how many times do we see people out here? You can even use me as an example. How many times do we see people out here, unboxing a bag, they rave about the bag, they say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then 2 weeks later they go to sell it, and then that's it. They're like, okay, moving on to the next one, right? It might be a lot easier for that person to buy and sell that bag than it would be for someone else. So don't take to heart what someone is saying. Even if this list that I'm talking about in this video doesn't make sense to you, don't follow it by any means whatsoever. Because if something doesn't seem right to you, if something doesn't work out for you and for your lifestyle and for your collection, don't do it. Don't do it, regardless of what anybody says. Regardless if someone says you have to have this bag because it's the greatest thing. If you don't have this bag, then you don't have a collection. I've heard that too. That is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard in my life. No. Just do what makes you happy. I mean, buy handbags that work out for your lifestyle, for what you look for in handbags. That's another thing that I wanted to add. When it comes to a perfect handbag collection for me, there is one style of bag that I don't look for. It's not important to me, and that is crossbody. A crossbody bag is not something that I look for when it comes to handbags. I can appreciate crossbody bags. I can appreciate what they bring to the table. It is not my end-all be-all. However, there might be someone out there that might feel the same way about totes that I do about crossbody bags. So no two people will view bags the same. No two people will look at how they need to incorporate those bags into their collection. So that's something that I feel like you have to keep in the back of your mind, because a crossbody bag might be absolutely imperative for your lifestyle, for what you look for in a bag, but it might not be for someone else. And that's something that you really have to take into consideration when it comes to, how they end up reviewing the bag or the pros and cons of a bag as well. It has to make sense. It has to make sense to you. It has to make it has to work out for you and no one else. Because like I said before, you're going to be the one spending the money on the bag. No one else. You're going to be the one using the bag. So use the bags that work for you, that make you happy, and back to the whole list that I talked about in this video. Don't let anybody dull your sparkle. Don't let anybody make you feel bad for spending an obscene amount of money on a bag. If you want to spend $20,000 in a bag, you do it. You go for it. Why not? If you have a bag in your collection that's no longer trendy, guess what? Continue to rock it, because I know I will. Like the Neverfull, I talk about that bag all the time. I get a lot of people that tell me, you should stop using that bag. It's so over. It's blah, blah, blah. You need to buy something else. It's not this. It's not on trend anymore. I don't care. I don't give a flying rat's behind what anybody says about the Neverfull. I don't care if I'm the last person on the planet that likes that bag. I will continue to rock it until the bitter end, right? That and many others that aren't on trend anymore. But yeah, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Don't explain yourself. Don't get bags just because someone else says it's the cool thing to buy. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Just you do you, and you do you to the fullest. Dance to the beat of your own drum. As corny as that sounds, I really don't care if it sounds corny. I wholeheartedly believe that. So Anyways, that does it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I would love to know what are some things that you like to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to buying handbags or to collecting handbags. These are just my top 5. I know that there are many, many others, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this topic, so let us know in the comment section down below. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you would like to, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. And as always, make it a fabulous, fabulous day or not. The choice is yours. Have a great day.